Good evening. We're going to open the public hearing for Park Central 40B project. Mr. DePietri, I have a letter that I need to, oh, wait a minute for Karen to come back. I have a letter need to get read into the record. So do you have any discussion on that, Park Central right now, or anything that we're going to do tonight, or what are we? Okay, for when? Our next scheduled meeting is January 7th. The meeting after that is January 28th. The 7th? Okay. And we just wait for Karen to come in, and I'm going to introduce those letters, and that'll be it. The other thing for the board, I'm talking to Selectmen and talking to Mark Purple. We've been given permission to bring town council involved in this. So I need a motion made to the board to agree to vote to have town council brought in to be involved in the 40B project. So I need a motion made for that to do it.
We need a motion for that?
It has to be done, voted by the board.
All right, I'll make a motion to bring in our town council into to our group decision.
Okay, I have a second. Any discussion on it? The thing is, we're going to meet, town council and I, we've put a package together for him already on stuff to get it ready, and he will be coming to our next meetings to get involved as we need him.
So he's part of the meetings to advise us as the meetings,
What?
he'll be part of the meetings going forward to advise?
He will be coming to the meetings with us.
Okay.
All right? Any further discussion?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, could I put a point of order?
Yes, sir.
Talking about for the 40B or the use variance,
We're doing the 40B right now.
so you're not gonna involve them for the use variance?
The use variance is public hearings in 10 minutes. We got this is the 40B public hearing present. So that's the first one we do. I was explained today that I have to do both of them individual. So the next one will be for the use variance. Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, the other thing is for the two attorneys representing Mr. Petrie, Mr. Hill, any information that goes back and forth has to go through the ZBA office, and then it will be forwarded to town council. And after the fact, when town council comes to the meeting, if he decides he wants to do it any different, then we'll discuss it at that time. But for now, because we have to keep record of it. Karen, can you read, oh, one other thing, I apologize. Karen Bully, which has been a secretary for the ZBA board for over 20 years, stepped down 3 years ago for personal issues, which has now come back, and she's going to be our secretary full-time, which will do minutes and do our decisions and stuff for the board. So she's going to be working with us, just so everybody knows who she is, all right? Karen, would you read in the planning board letter on the 40B project, please? We have a letter from the planning board. She's got copies for Dan and for Mr. DePietri to give you, and we're going to read it into the public record, and all we're going to do is, this letter, the reason you guys didn't get it prior, it didn't come out until 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Otherwise, you would have received it. But we'll take and read it in the minutes, and at the next meeting, it'll be discussed. Okay, Karen, would you read it, please?
December 2nd, 2014, proposed 40B. Dear Chairman Bartolini, the planning board has been following the actions relative to the Chapter 40B proposed project at the industrial zoned property at Park Central. A significant amount of information has been received by your board during the public hearing, which is expected to close soon, and so we feel it is appropriate to submit comments at this time. Our concern is safety. The project proposes 180 residential units in the industrial zone adjacent to an existing residential neighborhood. Future projects could include the proposed 132-unit residential development or two 200-unit 40B developments. As currently proposed, the residential traffic from the site is planned to flow onto Flag Road, which is a tree-lined and narrow with curves and grades not suitable for the projected volume of traffic. Flag Road leads west to a dangerous intersection at Route 9 and east to Lover's Lane, which is even more primitive with several places so narrow that 2 cars cannot traverse at the same time. Further east is Deerfoot Road in the town's largest school zone. Depending on the final approval, traffic could also flow through Bantry, Tara, and Blackthorn roads, which have steep grades exceeding 10%. without significant roadway safety upgrades, including removal of mature trees and destruction or alteration of historic stone walls, the increase in traffic volume will produce an unacceptable level of risk to existing residential neighborhoods. This unsafe condition will directly impact more than 130 homes over 2 miles of existing neighborhood roads, none of which have sidewalks and will extend more than a mile from the project site. The town of Southborough has an outstanding record of approving 40B projects. They range from single units to over 150 units in size and are located throughout the town. No project, industrial, commercial, residential, or 40B, has ever been approved in this town that would have such a significant impact on safety. The planning board respectfully requests that you deny this project. Sincerely, Donald C. Morris, Planning Board Chairman, submitted on behalf of the Planning Board.
Okay, thank you. The discussion on that will be at the next public hearing. A comment that we're gonna go forward. I have another issue on this, on the 40B, Mr. Petrie. Mr. Monchant, grant money has run out. So we're gonna request if you would consider, and Karen, you wanna read that letter into the file? That we wrote a letter, I had written that if you would consider paying the town in response of his expenses so we can continue to have him as counsel for the 40B project. Yes, and I don't know exactly what that rate is, but that we'll get to you. But it's what it's been under the same as it's been, the same as what Mr. Madison paid on Madison Place, Bob Moss. Right. Karen, would you just read the letter publicly and give it to Mr. Petrie?
Sure. Greetings, Mr. DePietri. This is a request that you agree to pay for consulted services provided by Mr. Ed Marchand on behalf of the town of Southborough Zoning Board of Appeals pertaining to the residences at Park Central. Sincerely, Leo J. Bartolini, Chairman, Southborough Board of Appeals.
Okay, would you just give him that, and if you could sign it, and prior to our next meeting, I will have Karen send you what the amount of money is. I don't know what the rate is off. We can have him come to the meetings we think we need him at. If we have a meeting or prior, because when we get into the engineering drawings and that stuff, is really, we don't need him necessary. The biggest thing will be when we talk about traffic study again, and the other big issue will be when we get involved with decision and where we're going forward. So it'll be something that we do, and because you're paying for it, you'll have the opportunity that ask us whether or not we're gonna bring them or what, but we want to have the opportunity that if we feel we need them, that we can have them come. Okay? Karen, we have nothing on the agenda.
Copy? Yeah.
Karen, we have nothing on the agenda for January 7th, and the deadline was yesterday, correct?
Yes, nothing new.
There's
no.
nothing, all right. I'm gonna request that the public hearing on the 40B project be continued until January 7th, and due to our new schedules, we're gonna extend our meetings to 7:30 instead of 7 o'clock. So, can we have a motion to continue the 40B Park Central public hearing until January 7th at 7:30? Make a motion, please.
I make a motion to extend the meeting until January 7th at 7:30.
Okay, we have a second? Any discussion? Okay, we have a vote? All in favor? Aye, thank you. Karen, Jeff, what do you call,
Andrew,
Andrew is gotta be excused because you can't vote on that Park Central.
okay.
Because you're not sitting on it, all right? So it's only a 4-member vote. Okay. It's now 10 minutes after 7, so we're going to open the public hearing that was continued on the 19th for the use variance. I have another letter that needs to be read that was written by the planning board. Karen, would you please read that into the file?
December 2nd, 2014, reference use variance procedure. Dear Chairman Bartolini, the Planning Board has concerns relative to the discussion of a use variance for the industrial zone land at Park Central, which is an agenda item on the Zoning Board of Appeals, December 3rd, 2014 meeting. The Planning Board acknowledges that the ZBA has authority to grant use variances pursuant to Chapter 174-25 of the Southborough zoning code. However, in this case, we question if it is appropriate to include discussion of a use variance on land being reviewed under the Chapter 40B process. Furthermore, the Planning Board is concerned that the circumstances of soil conditions, topography, and related substantial hardship are absent from the site. If the discussion of a use variance is deemed to be appropriate and one is granted, the Planning Board understands that the ZBA may impose conditions, but those conditions must not go beyond the authority of the ZBA, especially in regard to residential subdivision of land and site plan, which fall under the authority of the Planning Board. These matters are complex and sensitive. The neighbors and the proponents have legal counsel. We respectfully recommend engaging town council immediately to represent the town and guide the ZBA, Planning Board, and other town officials through this process. The Planning Board looks forward to working with the ZBA in doing what is best for Southborough. This may include the development of a master plan of the entire site, which would include broader participation of town boards and committees and public. Sincerely, Donald C. Morris, Planning Board Chairman, submitted on behalf of the Planning Board.
Karen, we have one more letter that was submitted this afternoon from Jennifer Cavett. Yes. Would you please read that in the record?
Okay, so this is an email from Phil Jenks, and it was December 2nd, 2014. And it was to Jennifer Burney, the town planner, and I was copied. Jennifer, I think it is important to point out that the roads you cite have no sidewalks, especially Flag Road, which is a major route to two of Southborough's schools. Phil, signed Phil. That's it.
Okay. The question where we were the last time is the same thing, that we're going to bring town council into this project also, and we need a vote on it as we presently did for the first. So I need a motion in favor of having town council be involved in this one.
I'll make a motion to invite the town council in for this use variance hearing.
Okay, we have a second. Okay, discussion. Just so everybody knows, town council and I did meet this morning after the meeting last night, and we're putting, Karen has got a package together that we're gonna give him tomorrow on this, and he will be present at our next meeting to be able to review and go over where the issues are, and he's gonna through these letters and everything. Further, Mr. Petrie, what discussion are we going forward with now?
Same as 40B, looking for extension till the 7th. We're currently working with the neighbors on a new revised plan.
Do you want another extension on this also?
This should be the last one.
Okay, I need then, Karen, do you have the letter? Yeah, we need you to fill out an extension deadline letter, because your deadline is for 12/31/14. So I would like to get the deadline at least until the end of January. If that's-
This is appropriate?
What?
Is this form appropriate? Or
Yes.
do you need a letter from him?
No, he can fill that form out and give us that, and that's
Okay.
what that.
I gave a couple to Marty today, but, that's all right. I mean, you can do it now, or he
Yeah.
can get it to me tomorrow, whatever.
Maybe he emailed it.
But you have time, you don't have to
Yeah.
get it to us tonight, so, for the thing. So, we also, we need a motion to accept the extension until January 30th on the use variance.
Not to the 7th?
The meeting's gonna, no, we're not, hold on, we're not doing the meeting yet.
Okay.
First, we gotta do the extension date to January 30th.
I see.
So we need a motion in favor of that.
I make a motion to extend the use variance until January 30th.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, okay. Now, we need a motion to continue the public hearing until January 7th at, I have a question for Mr. Petrie. We have the 40B hearing at 7:30. Will there be any discussion on that prior to the use variance? Because you had made the statement before that you wanted to talk about the use variance prior to the 40B.
I'd kind of like to put the use variance on first, because if we don't get together on the plan, then we're going to move forward on the 40B, so.
All right, due to the fact that what we've already presently done, what I would like to do then have a motion made that at 7:35, we intend the use variance, and what we'll do is, we'll open up the 40B hearing and ask to be continued until the end of the night, and then do the use variance 10 minutes later. So does the board agree on that?
Yep, that's good.
All right, so can we get a motion in favor of that?
So I make a motion to extend the use variance to till January 7th,
The meeting.
the meeting at 7:35.
5. Okay, we have a second? Any discussion?
I just have one, I just want to clarify something with Mr. Hill, Mr. DePietri, that you feel as though that both of these concepts, this 40B and this variance issue, will be resolved at least to the point where you feel as though you feel comfortable enough to bring it in front of the board next meeting.
I would say we're going to know within the next 2 or 3 weeks on the use variance, if that's going to move forward or not.
Okay, so that's what you're concerned about right now as far as moving forward for that January 7th meeting. You feel as though that we're not going to extend it beyond, it just
No,
seems like we're getting
no, I hear what you're saying, believe me.
we're
Yep,
getting
I
these
agree.
people, I feel bad, everyone shows up to all these
Yep.
meetings and they keep on getting postponed, so, okay. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hill,
I think progress is being made.
please introduce yourself, sir.
Sorry. Dan Hill, attorney for some of the neighbors. Progress is being made. This isn't just continuances. We're having active discussions with the developer, and I think this is very productive. So I'd like to continue these discussions, and hopefully by the 7th, we'll have a much more definitive answer for you folks as to where we're going.
Right, and the thing is, the way we've scheduled the meeting, that if it doesn't happen, we ain't gonna be here all night waiting.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna end up doing again tonight for our next meeting. So any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion made? Okay, I thank everyone, and it's not the board's responsibility that we keep continuing it. It's the neighbors and the developer, so that's why we're doing it. Our next hearing is going to be at 7:15. We have another public hearing at 7:45, so we got a few minutes. Yes, that's another public hearing at 7:45. Use your speaker, please.
We didn't all vote to
Oh.
have Aldo in for the second, for the variance.
What?
We didn't take a vote.
Yeah, we did.
No,
What?
we didn't.
Motion was made, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, all right, we made, the motion was made to accept using Mr. Cipriano, Aldo for town council on the use
On the
variance.
use variance.
So.
I'll
any-
second that.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, okay. Thank you, Mr. Semino. So, and the other thing is that we're in the process of reviewing this and getting it all put together and going over it. We've got him the information on the past meetings. He's looking at them on the online photography thing, so he can look at that, and we're giving all the minutes and the notes and everything we have. So he'll have that and be available to do it at the next meeting that we do have. So that'll be where we're going with it, and there'll be some things in between. We have minutes to approve here. We have a set of minutes for November 19th, which basically all we did was open and close a public hearing for the use variance. So can we get a motion to approve those?
I move to approve the minutes for November 19th.
Yes. Okay, do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We have another set of minutes for October 29th. Capital Group and Mr. Stivers. So, is there any discussion on those minutes? Okay. Can we get a motion to approve those minutes, please?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from October 29th.
Okay, you have to stay out. Okay. Do we have a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay. Andrew abstained because you weren't sitting on those.
Correct.
Say that again?
Did you do all, did we,
I can't hear you.
did you
What?
do all in favor for that again?
No, I haven't got that far. I just told Andrew he needs to step down because he wasn't involved in the meeting. So we have a second now, all in favor of approving of the minutes, the four of us? Thank you. That takes care of the minutes. Karen, is there anything else that, oh, the other thing is, just so the board knows, the Board of Selectmen last night appointed Jeff Walker, which is here, as our other alternate member, and he's been sworn in downstairs today and everything, so he's our second alternate. Tom, for different reasons, isn't coming to meeting tonight at all. So he had something personal to come up, and Andrew was gonna be here, so we're gonna let him sit on the next two hearings that we have. Karen, is there any other discussions? Okay. The other thing, just so the board knows, I am sitting down with Mark Rubidoux, the town planner, and we're going to submit to the Board of Selectmen 2 zoning bylaws changes. One of them is going to be for the duplex bylaw that has the 2-year limitation. And the other one is going to be to clarify the bylaw on accessory apartments. So Monday, we're going to finish the draft, and I'll let the board see it, just so you know. But we are gonna get it, him and I, and submit it, because there's issues that aren't properly being handled, and we need to settle them. So on the accessory apartment, we wanna clarify that. And personally, on the duplexes, I see no reason why somebody needs to wait 2 years to build a duplex. The duplex regulation is stated that it needs to look like a single-family house, and that is the main issue with it. But for a developer or anybody that's gonna build a duplex and have to build a house and then add it to it later, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't think it's proper money-wise or whatever to them, and the building inspector agrees. So we're gonna just clarify that part of the issue and get it done and then bring it to town meeting and get approved. And on the accessory apartment, we're gonna write that, and we're gonna clarify the issue that it is an accessory apartment for family members only, and if the resident is sold, it gets the decline. And it cannot be used as a rental apartment, and just so some people know, you people know, there are some rental apartments, and in the last 3 weeks, I've been doing a lot of research. And the ones that are our rentals were pre-existing apartments prior to the bylaw being written. And they were, single-family homes,
Grandfathered in.
separate houses, on houses that weren't attached. So that's why they're pre-existing. They're nothing to do with the board approving them or anything in the prior future, because in the last 26 years, there's never been one approved as a rental, which we discussed at the last meeting, just so everybody knows. And Mark has updated our regulations, which I told you, which are all in our permits now, that we changed as far as the use variance. 3 items are highlighted in the beginning of the application form. And we also determined the 10-day permitting fee, which is done. And tonight, due to the planning board sending the letter and everything, where it was, the selectmen did discuss it last night because they received it, so I just felt it was proper to put it into the public record, and we'll discuss it at the next meeting. Any other discussion at the moment? Okay, I get a motion, do we have a, yes?
I've got a letter that I'm gonna bring to you. Hold on.
Okay, can we get a motion for a recess
I'll make a
for
motion for-
15 minutes?
All right, I'll make a motion for
A
a
second?
15-minute.
Second, all in favor? Aye, thank you. Can you shut your mics off, please? Karen, are you all set? ZBA Board meeting. Something else we have on the agenda here, and Mr. Petrie again, is due to his 40B permit on Stonebrook Village, and due to the law case that they're still in court over, he has a deadline again. So we need to give him another extension, which he sent us a letter, oh, thank you. I repeat this, on Stonebrook, there is legal case going on, and they haven't gone to court. They've been going back and forth. So we have to take, and he's requested an extension, and because it's a legal case issue, we grant the extension on it. The only thing is, on this letter, unless I'm not reading it right, I don't see the request for the time. Oh, December 17th, over the next schedule meeting. I don't see that, a request of when do you want the extension for? How long?
Mr. Chairman, they've still not assigned a case to a judge. So the judge who we had initially been assigned retired some 6 months ago, and they still haven't assigned it to a new judge. We've written 2 letters to the clerk of courts, and still nothing. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, you wanted to request an extension for 6 more months.
Well, that would be okay with me.
Because it's nothing to do with us, it's
No,
just
no,
for the
right, yeah.
permitting process, so is that?
Yeah.
So, can we get a motion to extend the extension on Stonebrook Village until, what's 6 months, girls?
6/17,
Yeah.
May?
June.
All right, so why don't we do it, so
May
it's
30th,
January, February, March.
We have 31 in May?
May
So why don't we
31st.
schedule the extension until May 29th, which will be 3 days after our May meeting of the 27th. Okay?
Okay.
Can we get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to extend the Stonebrook Village hearing until May 29th.
Okay, second. Discussion. Everybody, I think, understands what it's all about and
Yes.
where it's been going at. Okay, all in favor of the motion? Aye, you can vote on this one.
I'm just gonna abstain just because I had no involvement in it previously, so.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, it's just for extension now, because the hearing's been closed and is all done, so you have the right to be involved in it now.
Oh, I know that, but
Yeah, so you can vote in favor of whatever, but you have the right. So if you want to abstain, you can do that. Okay, so Karen, Andrew's abstained from that. All right? All right, we got 3 more minutes. We're going to, the next issue we have, which I gotta wait the 2-3 minutes to do it. Any other discussions, questions on the board, and anything of where we're going and with everything that is happening? The other thing is, I've told Karen, not KB, and I'm gonna call her Karen, I'm gonna call her KB, because it gets kinda confusing for me, and I have a hard enough time as it is. And they've both agreed to that. But Karen, when we have the January meeting, we're going to go over the schedule for the next year. And what I'm gonna recommend now is you people look at it of the 3rd Wednesday of the month that we meet. So what I need you to do, look over a year calendar and see if there's any issues with any of those or anything that you're thinking. We'll do it up until the beginning of November, because in November it changes, and for the holidays and everything. So, we'll, say it again?
Did we decide?
We don't have April yet. What we're gonna do, Karen, which I had talked to you about, and I just told the board,
on the
when we
7th.
meet on January 7th,
We're gonna meet.
we will schedule the rest of our dates. So what I'm asking you guys is to look up the calendar and see if those dates are good with everybody, and there's no major issues with it all.
So this is
And
part.
both alternates also do the same thing.
So we're talking potentially the second meeting in January could be the 21st, or are we still
The
gonna?
second meeting in January is scheduled presently for, they're gonna be the 28th.
28th, okay.
So what we're gonna do is, I want a motion now to do that, so if anybody files, we have 2 people that are in the process of filing that are gonna, what do you call, so if we make a motion now to do that, so the January 28th meeting is done and finalized, and then in the January 7th meeting, we'll do the rest of the agenda for the rest of the year. So can we get a motion to make for the January 28th meeting?
What do you want, a motion just to make?
I want a motion made that our second meeting in January is gonna be the 28th of January.
Oh, I make a motion that our second meeting in January will be the 28th,
Okay, at 7:30.
7:30.
Okay, any discussion? All in second? Need a second?
I second that.
Okay, any discussion?
I won't be here that meeting.
Of the
so-
28th?
On the 28th.
Okay.
Okay, so and I'll be more than happy to listen to the audio.
Well, the thing about it, I would, considering the way things are going, if we have the meeting on the 7th on those two issues, I doubt they're gonna be ready to come back on the 28th with anything anyway, so.
Okay,
I don't think that'll matter, but you do have the right to listen to it, David.
okay.
All
All right,
right.
so we can go right to the vote.
Any further discussion?
All right.
Okay, all in favor of it? Okay, the other thing is, Karen, we have somebody that is starting an application or something for, when is the submittal gonna be?
I told them to get it in to me by December 18th so that I could present it to you on the 7th, to put on the
Okay.
agenda, to vote for to put it on the agenda.
All right, the thing is, just to make it presently easy for everybody because of the holidays and everything, I would say if the vote agrees, if somebody submits something to go on the agenda in time, that the first agenda item be set for 7:30, and the second agenda item be set for 7:45. So we have two agendas that, if they come in, Karen can set the date, so because of Christmas and New Year's and everything, they gotta advertise in the paper, so it'd make it a lot easier for Karen also, and the individual, if we set those dates right now. So if make a motion that one hearing would be at 7:30, a second hearing would be at 7:45
Just for the 28th?
on the 28th. And that way there, Karen, you'll be able to get them, and KB, you agree to do it that way also? All right, so we have a motion to do that also.
I'll make a motion to allow Karen to set the dates, the date of the 7th, the meeting times 7:30 and
No.
On the
The
On the
thing is,
28th.
on the 28th,
between, for 7:30
30
and 7:45.
at 7:45. Do we have a second? Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye, thank you very much. And Karen, did that work with both of you girls?
Yep.
Okay, it is now 7:45. Karen, would you read the public hearing notice for 40 Southville Road?
Notice of public hearing, Mr. William DePietri, Capital Group Properties, 259 Turnpike Road, Suite 100, Southborough, Mass. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Southborough Townhouse, 17 Common Street, on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014, at 7:45, with regard to the petition of Mr. William DePietri, Capital Group Properties. The petitioner is seeking a variance under Section 174-25A3 to install a 24-by-72 aluminum wall sign at 40 Southville Road. The sign is for Athletic Revolution, a tenant at the subject property. A copy of the application may be reviewed at the office of the building department at the townhouse during normal business hours.
Okay. Mr. DePietri?
Mr. Chairman, does everyone have the application with the plans and whatnot?
I don't think I do.
I don't think,
I don't
Karen?
think we have a copy of the, with the plans.
Yeah.
Thought I
Thank you.
sent those to you guys.
Thank you.
There.
There you go. Okay.
You have them, Lee?
All right, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So the address is 40 Sulphur Road. This is an 8,000 square foot flex building that was built in 2008. We were before the zoning board in 2008 for a variance due to front setback. There's a set of train tracks behind the property, and we couldn't push the building back enough, so we came before the zoning board to request a front setback variance. Within the decision of the variance, which is attached to the package, there were, 20-something conditions. that the use variance was granted on. One of the conditions were that there would be no signs installed on the building. At that time, we didn't have any tenants. We didn't know whether it was gonna be one tenant, what type of tenant. So since that time, we've constructed the building. As you can see, we do have 4 tenants in the building. One of the tenants is requesting that he be allowed to place a sign on the building, so people know where he's at. Under the industrial zone, which it is currently zoned, you know, signs are allowed. There could be up to a 90-square-foot sign, had it not been for the restriction put on upon the variance that was issued. We did go around and speak to the direct abutters, and we had them sign a petition, showed them the sign. I think there's 6 or 7 people's names that are on it that did not have an issue with it. 5, stand corrected. The sign is not illuminated. It is 72 by 24 inches. It'll be, you know, placed above the tenant's entrance door to the right side of the building.
Any further?
That's all.
Okay, just so the board knows, and I was not sitting on it, but I was an alternate when this was done. The issue was they were allowed to put signs on the doors, which a couple of people have done that, haven't they?
Well, yes, vinyl.
Okay.
Vinyl letters.
Which Mr. DePietri said, the major issue is a commercial property is allowed a 90-square-foot sign, no matter where they are. There are other additional buildings on the street that do have very big signs. A business village district sign is 25 square feet. A residential sign is 2 by 2, which honestly, I don't know what the square footage is. I was trying to figure it out. But you're allowed a 2 by 2 sign, and a 25-foot sign is 5 by 5. My recommendation on this, due to the fact it is commercial property, and it is to the right to have the other sign, and Mr. Petrie, I guess, would have the right, if it was turned down, to appeal the decision. And I think personally, a court would say, yeah, you can have it, it's commercial property, and that's the town regulation. So my suggestion would be that we grant a sign under the Village Visnic District, which is for 25 square feet. Looking at Mr. DePietri's numbers here, that sign that you're presenting is like 12 square feet?
Correct.
And that's what you would want. So he's doing a 12-square-foot sign is what is requested. So my personal thing is I think that would be the proper way to go forward with this, because I think if it goes the other way, we could end up in a legal case, and most likely because the zoning book is very clear that commercial property is allowed a 90-square-foot sign per building. So, you know, everybody on that building, there's 4 places, they could put up 16 square foot signs in every part of that building for themselves, technically by law. So I would personally recommend if the board would consider going that route. Paul, I'd like to start with you, please. Any comments?
I don't have any comments at all. I understand what you're saying, so it makes sense to me, too.
Okay, David?
Just a couple questions. Are these guys the only tenant in the building?
No, we have 3 other tenants, but they're not requiring signs.
Okay. The granting of the sign, if this tenant leaves, would the permit go with the tenant, or would it stay with the building?
We could make our condition the way we want, I would
I
think.
mean, I can, honestly, Dave, it can go with the tenant, because if the tenant doesn't need it, I'm not looking to put a bunch of signs up. The other 3 tenants aren't requiring signs. This guy is saying people have a hard time finding him, so, and his business is slowing down, so I understand why he needs it.
I'm not necessarily saying that we should do that. I'm just saying that whatever we decide.
We could do it. We
should-
could do it if the board wants to, and make it a condition that it is with the tenant. So if the tenant moves out, the sign
And
can't.
if you have another tenant,
I
you can come back and.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So they
Okay.
can, and it sort
I
of
don't have any
leaves,
other, I don't have any other
leaves
questions.
the door open. Ms. Capello?
No, I'm not.
All right, Andrew?
I have a question. Who are the other 3 tenants Who are the other three tenants in the building?
Shop cleaning is in there. They do commercial cleaning. They just have their offices there. There's not really, people aren't going there to find them. JBJ Construction, which is one of my companies, we have storage in there. And then there's another private homeowner who has some storage in there. Then we have Athletic Revolution.
All right, any further questions?
What is Athletic Revolution? What do they do? Is it a workout place?
Yeah, kind of a workout place, yep.
Like a gym?
Yeah, but more specific one-on-one training, kind of.
So it's like the one in Fayetteville there. They have it there, the Brickyard Square. They have
Oh, yeah.
There's
The
a,
one on Route 9 now?
yeah, they have they're a chain link that does a bunch of them everywhere. So it's similar to that then. All right, yes,
So a few abutters were notified. A few said they
Yes.
didn't have a problem. Did
We
any,
actually had them sign a petition,
that's saying
5.
it's okay?
Yep.
And no one had did anyone have an issue with the sign?
No.
Bill, if we finish our discussion, then I'll open to the public,
Okay.
and then we'll find out. All right, any other questions from anybody? Okay, any comments from the public? All right, so you need to stand up at the mic and state your name and address, please.
My name is Michael Osler, and I live at 41 Southville Road, across the street from the property in question here. And originally, I had signed the petition to allow the hearing to go through, and after further conversation with my family and having that building be an eyesore to us as it sits directly across from our home, the thought of the ability to have commercial signs be placed across the building is something that we would not like to have in the neighborhood. And I recognize the discussion that you folks had about having the permit go with that one tenant and that the other tenants are not requesting signs, but if the variance were to be opened wide, then there is opportunity for those other businesses to ask, and then they could be given that right to have that sign. We certainly wouldn't want to have the entire building covered in signs. Also recognizing the good nature of the business and how it really helps the community and improve their health. One thing that we would be willing to not vote against is having the sign be on the side of the building where oncoming traffic would have it be visible. And we also would not want to have all of the tenants be provided the variance to provide signs for themselves.
I guess a couple of comments on it is, one, we're permitting only one sign, and we're doing that in the long run so that if somebody else does want a sign, they can also have the right to come back in. The major issue, and I've talked to our building inspector and stuff on it, is the fact that because commercial property is allowed to have it, and right here I have the decision that was done through the first variance with Mr. DePietri, and I've read it over a couple of times, and in the minutes that were done on that meeting, there was discussion that there was no major issue with it, but it was discussed that when somebody wanted a sign, he would come back in front of the ZBA board for the sign. And that was in the minutes that were taken during his public hearings when it was done, which is what he's presently doing. The thing is, like I had stated before, due to the fact that the town's bylaw states that a commercial building site is allowed a 90-square-foot sign, by doing what we're recommending, and matter of fact, my personal recommend would have been the 25 square feet, because that's what a village district sign is. Residential is allowed a 2-foot sign, what do you call it? But, so the thing is, by doing it that way, we've captured the size of the sign, and we've got it reduced as small as we can really, that we could, and get it done so it would be permitted, where if it doesn't get permitted, it could get appealed by the developer and the owner of the property. And most likely, because it's a bylaw that's legal in the town of Southborough, and it can be in a residential abutting district, it can be anywhere. I mean, there's signs all over the place that do abut residential property, and we can't technically really, do it, so that it could be an issue. This way, we are if the board agrees to all this, we are controlling the signs. So if somebody else comes in, if you end up with 4 signs, the signs are gonna be, I don't know, what was the dimension? 2 feet by?
2 by 6,
2 by 6 signs, which is not really that big, and they're not gonna be lit, right?
correct?
And they're gonna be against the building. So basically, they're not really gonna be. And this sign here, now, did you go in front of the planning board, right?
We did.
And we have a thing that planning board, Karen, do you have the thing from the planning board? They agreed on everything, and the big thing that they agreed on was the illumination of the sign really fit with the building. So it's sort of blended in, so it's not something that's gonna stick out like a sore thumb or something also.
Right.
So I personally think, and I asked the board if they agree, that it would most likely be the proper way to go about this, to control it for the future, for another sign that'll probably come up, where I personally would not like to see it become a legal issue, where he can go and they turn around and say, yeah, you can put a 90-foot sign up. And Mr. Semino, which is here, which sat on the planning board, which has done a lot of signs, I think he understands also what I'm saying. Do you? As far as the regulation and the law. So I just think, in the long run, it is the best thing for the neighbors if we did do it this way. So I don't know how you feel about it. I know you're not, but there is a issue that they can technically, in the long run, probably be able to get it the other way. And then it could get put up in the front, on the street. And this sign, where it's on the building, it's a lot better than standing, in the front, middle of the lawn in the front. And
Agreed.
once it gets put up, I don't think you recognize it after a while, and it's just gonna become, so.
Would the tenant be willing to consider the sign on the side?
I don't think so. I mean, he's losing 50% of his exposure at that point.
See, that way that building, and when, in this decision here, the ZBA eliminated all the parking in front of the building, and they put everything in the back, so they really did keep it so there was nothing in the front of the building, so it sort of made it nice for the neighborhood, which, that commercial, I mean, if you go down one block down, there's a sign down there that's 10 by 12, which is the next building down, because, it was done prior, and the next building down from that also has a big sign. So the present set sort of, would make it hard. So I just think that what we're trying to do would make it right for the neighbors, especially because it'll set precedents. So the next time a guy comes in for the building and says, well, he wants to have a 90 square foot sign, but we've set precedents by giving him the 12 square foot sign this time. So that would probably keep it going in order down the road for the next sign to be 12 feet. So.
And I totally understand the specifications and the design. The building wouldn't allow a sign that size, but I understand exactly what you're saying. But okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other comment? Any other discussion with the board? Mr. DePietri, any more comment?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, can I make a motion that we close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Okay, and a second? All in favor? All right. The next step is what is the opinion of the board of approving the variance for a 12 square foot sign? Yes. Paul, you want to start? You agree, or
I agree with allowing a variance for the sign.
David?
I'm fine with it, and as long as Mr. DePietri doesn't mind, I think we should make it specific for that tenant.
I figured the 25 was the way to go, but if they only want the 12, that's even better for everybody.
Yeah, let's just go with the 12 then.
Okay, Ms. Capello?
Oh, I agree. I agree with Mr.
Andrew?
I agree, and I do think it makes sense to limit it to this tenant. And another thing that I was just considering is looking in the photograph that the other tenants who are more located in the front of the building, at least, there's some trees there, so looks like that even if they wanted to build a sign, might be just obscured by trees.
But by doing it on the building this way, that's sort of setting the presence for if somebody comes in to have another one after too. And I think it would make it, for somebody not to getting an idea to come in and say they want to put a 30-foot, square foot sign up there instead, that And as Mr. DePietri being the owner and been here many times, that the tenant would be suggested that it's gonna be a 12-foot, square-foot sign, I would think. So, all right, then
I
if,
make a motion that we approve it on 12 square feet for the specific tenant, and if the landlord wants to come back in the future for any additional tenants, they would have to go through the same process.
definite, yeah, that's definite, so to be conditioned. Do we have a second? Okay, the other discussion, and one thing of the discussion is, the planning board did not deny the sign, so we don't have anything in writing, I think, from them, but they did not deny it and anything.
No, they did not.
They didn't have any problems. All right, so if everybody is agreeable, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second, so all in favor? Aye? Okay, thank you very much. All right? Okay,
You know what?
our
Want this
next
original
public
back?
hearing,
Send this look original.
where my agenda went.
Must be a blue copy.
Mr. Petrie, there's another application here for you. The next public hearing is at 8 o'clock, which is only 5 minutes, bad, not bad, for 37 Presidential Drive. Mr. Petrie, I have another piece of paper for you. That was submitted. Okay? Karen, would you please read the application for 37 Presidential Drive?
Miss Laura Scott, 37 Presidential Drive, Southborough, Mass. The Board of Appeals of the Town of Southborough will hold a public hearing in the hearing room of the Southborough Townhouse, 17 Common Street, on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2014, at 8 p.m. with regard to the petition of Miss Laura Scott, 37 Presidential Drive, Southborough, Mass. The petitioner is seeking relief from the side yard setback requirements under Section 174, 8.2, D3C, minimum setbacks. A copy of the application may be reviewed at the office of the building department at the townhouse during normal building hours.
Okay, before we start the public hearing, I want to clarify that there was a variance on this, on a deck. And what's happening now is, all they're trying to do is enclose the deck. And I do remember sitting on the ZBA when it was done. When was it? The house was built. So when was the variance granted on the? 97, okay, so they did get a variance for,
Mike?
oh, yeah, she's got the mic.
Yeah, it's just not on, I guess.
Ma'am, you have to turn that on. Okay, if you please introduce yourself.
So good evening. I'm Laura Scott. I live at 37 Presidential Drive,
Okay,
Southborough.
so just so the board knows that the variance has been pre-granted for this, and what's happened is, from what I've read, and correct me if I'm wrong, all you're doing is just enclosing the deck, is that correct?
So what we're
And
seeing,
adding 2 feet to it,
correct.
so, okay. So you'd like to make a presentation, and then we'll go forward.
Sure. I mean, I've introduced myself, and you've already stated exactly what the request is. It's relatively straightforward. Enclosing, the original structure is rotting now, and I was seeking permission to enclose it, and as part of that effort, add 2 feet. And Tom Finelli is working with me to do the work, and we've got plans and pictures, et cetera, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'm going to start off with one question, which is the deck. There is no abutting house close to that, is there?
There's not.
Right.
There's
And
not.
are there any neighbors that are involved? Any discussion from the neighbors on it?
So the neighbors, all got notices, and
Oh, I know that.
yeah, and I have spoken to several of them, and there've been no objections.
Okay, so I'll open it up to the board. Mr. Paul, want to start?
Again, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
It's pretty,
David?
I'm fine with it. I don't have
Lisa?
any questions.
Yeah, I'm fine, as long as there's no abutters that are
All right,
posted,
we'll
yeah.
find that out in a minute.
And I just want to confirm from the plans, it looks like where the deck faces, the land is owned by the Southborough Open Land Foundation, and behind
Yes.
that's the water department?
Correct. So when you're standing on the deck looking out, you can't see a structure. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Okay. And I
And
also.
on woods.
Right, and I also have no issues with it either. So the next question is, does anybody in the public have any comment to make on this? Ma'am, you need to use the mic and introduce yourself.
Dorianne Jasinski, 33 Presidential Drive. I am a neighbor. I also donated the land to solve that it abuts her side yard and the 15 acres in behind. I have no problem with this. This is a no-brainer. I don't see what the issue would be.
Okay.
So there's no problem
Very good.
from any of the neighbors that I know of.
All right, thank you very much. I don't see any other reason to go any further, so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do we second it?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Now, do we get a motion for approval, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
All right, a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on this? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. There you go. You're granted, enjoy it. Karen and KB, do we have any more
They all
further
should be that
discussion
easy.
right now?
No.
You all got everything, you're all set? Karen, also? Okay, can I get a motion, we know we're gonna meet on the 7th of January at 7:30. So can we get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Good job.